Hi there. Should perhaps start by saying that today's tasting is going to be a basket case, and the wine in question is M.A.U wines, or M.A.U wines, the basket case Chardonnay from 2021. It's a New Zealand wine, and it's from the Southern Clays sub-region of Marlborough. Now this is a tiny winery and a fairly recently created. In fact, I believe this is their first vintage. So winemaker Marc Udy, since 2006, has been working for one or two well-known wineries in Australia and New Zealand. I believe in 2011 he worked vintage in Vosne Romanee, so he's equally conversant with some of the classic wines of these styles. But having worked for other people, that really wasn't quite enough. So in 2021, Marc and his partner Camilla decided to start their own venture. Now it happened that he came across a small winery in Clevedon in South Auckland, and nearby in fact there was a vineyard, and they were able to acquire these. So as well as making wines from Marlborough through the contacts he has through his former employer, he's also got his own vineyard to work with. And that's how Wine-Searcher got in touch with Marc, because as part of our winemaking project for our staff, we decided we'd like to do some grape picking, and at some stage this week a team of eager volunteers from Wine-Searcher are going to go down and help Marc pick some of his varietals in South Auckland. So the Southern Valleys is a sub-region of the Marlborough winemaking region. Its climate is cooler and drier than the rest of the region, and the soils here are a mixture of broken grey-wacky high in mineral and loose clays with quite low fertility. So although being that little bit cooler, because of its soil type, the Southern Valleys is renowned for producing slightly richer styles of wine than the rest of Marlborough. Now this wine is made from fruit that was grown on the Cowley family's vineyard, and this was planted about 30 years ago in the late 1990s. And this is located in what are called the Ben Morven foothills. So this is right up, hidden in the Wither Hills themselves. The Cowley family, in fact, really re-established an estate called Arntsfield back in the late 1990s. And today they have somewhere in the region of 65 hectares of vines there, and they're producing Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, but their predominant variety is actually Pinot Noir. So here you've got a magnificent site just at the bottom of a set of hills, sweeping site divided into lots of subplots, and these are all meticulously managed by Ben Cowley, who's the viticulturist there, and everything is managed organically as well, although I don't notice an organic certification for the wine. So in 2021 Marc made 5 barrels of Chardonnay, so something like 125 cases in all. So this is not a wine that's in widespread distribution. If you're in the UK or the US, I'm sorry, you probably won't be able to find it there. The wine was barrel fermented using the natural yeasts that had made their way into the winery on the fruit, so ambient yeasts. Fermentation went on at quite cool temperatures, so happened quite slowly, and they described this as actually sort of strangling out the malolactic conversion. So I'm assuming that what that means is the malolactic conversion goes ahead, but actually it's the flavours it's producing aren't particularly pronounced. The alcoholic fermentation is preventing the malolactic from producing lots of diacetyl and butterscotchy notes. And the way Marc's treated this, he hasn't added sulfur dioxide prior to bottling. So that's created quite a unique set of aromas that actually give us sort of a notable flintiness, that sort of struck match note. And the struck match note is quite evident on the nose. So let's see what we make of the wine. And the first thing to say is you've got a nice medium yellow colour there. It's quite vibrant. As I swirl it, it's quite readily sticking to the glass there, forming tears. The wine's got 14% alcohol, so I'm not surprised by that. Let's see what we make of the aroma, shall we? Yes, the aromas are very pungent. I mean, the struck match notes, obviously. I think of fireworks, but what I'm actually thinking of are sparklers, where you get sort of quite a sulphurous aroma, as it were. Having said that, there's more to it than that. Here you've got a beautiful salinity. There's a clean, there are hints of vanilla, so I'm assuming a fair amount of new oak here. There's a cedriness, but those are all beautifully tied in. And then you've got a note of sort of crushed seashells. What this really reminds me of from Burgundy are the wines of Coche d'Ury. And sometimes when you have this sort of flinty fermentation aromas, if the wine is too lean, it can't take it. However, behind this, there seems to be a rich lemony note. There's perhaps a little bit of rounded stone fruit. There are touches of creaminess. So yeah, really interesting set of aromas. Let's see what we make of it on the palate. The attack of this is that sort of gunpowder, struck match, gunflint, flinty. It's completely dry, and there's plenty of that sort of crushed seashell note. Following that, there's some crispness, which is pretty good. And then there's the sort of the rounded creaminess, the leesiness. So I'm assuming this has spent at least a year in barrel, and for some of that time it will have had the lees in there being stirred up to give that sort of richness. And it really is quite a roundness and a minerality to the whole thing. There is that note of crushed seashells. There's a very definite salinity. There really is quite a salty tang to the whole thing. I'd love it to have a little bit more freshness. I'd love it to have a little more richness in terms of its fruit. But there really is a very distinctive style here. I almost wonder if it's a wine that would have worked as a blending element in a larger overall blend. There's a lovely pungency. The acidity is actually showing a little better on the finish now, and I'm being left with some citric, lemon, grapefruit notes. But there's still this sort of rich creaminess, and the finish is round. I suppose the alcohol is sort of rounding that out a bit as well. But having said that, although I'm looking for a little bit more fruit weight, the alcohol doesn't stand out as being hot. There is sufficient depth and intensity of fruit there. I'm not sure this is a wine that is quite ready to drink yet. They do suggest that you could leave it 5 or 6 years, and I think that would probably help the fruit to come out and to go alongside those fermentation aromas, which are so pungent and are so straightforward. I'm interested, and I love this wine because it has these very distinctive flavours and aromas which are really quite special, but I don't think it's drinking at its peak yet. So, very much for watching. I hope you found the tasting of interest. If you did enjoy watching, please press the like button. If you'd like to watch more of our videos, do please sign up and follow us. Set yourself a notification, make sure that you're always reminded when we're going to be releasing a new tasting video. If you have any friends you think would be interested in what, do please feel free to share the video with them. If you have any comments, please leave those in the comments box below. I know this wine will be difficult to find, but I will leave a link in the notes to the Wine Searcher website, so that if you do want to try and track it down, you can see where it's available, and you can have a look at pricing, which helps to put it in context. Most importantly, however, do please try and take some time, come and join us for another tasting in the near future, won't you? Thanks again, bye for now.